fly a little bit. So we're gonna do some demonstrations. This is a move forward. About air pollution, and you've all, have you guys had experience when like a wildfire comes through here and seen smoke? You haven't noticed? Yeah, some people have noticed.
I know within the past year, we had a Canada wildfire and we had a lot of soot and debris coming down. That's an example. Another one was a recent one down in Zucchini, towards Howells, South Dakota. We had that big fire.
Okay, so what we're doing, maybe I'll just start in. For the last year, we've been doing a project in this area where we're monitoring the air. You see, the U.S. government measures the air quality in the cities, like Bismarck and Sioux Falls, and but here on the reservation, not as much goes on. They don't measure and tell you as much. So you're sort of getting information from far away. So the idea here was to monitor, and one of the things we did was set up these purple air monitors, which we have a couple here. One, and we're gonna try and do a demonstration, basically a mini wildfire and a mini sandstorm, when the dust, sometimes it's not like a sandstorm from Arizona with the dust coming, but also just trucks driving by on the road and there's dust and you probably notice that, there's dust. Well, that's pollution in a way, it's very localized. So what we've been doing is operating these, and one of them is actually in Timber Lake. So we're collecting information about the pollution in Timber Lake, as well as Eagle Butte, and then in South Eagle Butte, getting a range of the pollution. And we're actually collecting samples and we send them back to our labs, and then we analyze them for what's in the particles, okay? And then we're comparing that pollution to the pollution that the government measures in Bismarck, for example. And so Eva and then Jalen Fairley that are working with Kaya Foundation, that's who we're working with, to do this project for a couple of years. And then when we leave, these monitors will stay and keep operating. So we'll maintain that pollution. And in fact, we have another unit for each class, for each school, and we're gonna give that to your representative, teacher, I guess, right, leading the group. And so they can take it back and you could set it up at your school, and you just have to hook it up to the Wi-Fi, and it gets shared, and then as we'll show you, it appears on a map across the whole United States, and you can compare what your levels are like today. Sort of like you get up in the morning and say, what's the temperature outside? Should I put on a heavy jacket or a light jacket or something? You say, well, what's the pollution like in my community right now? And whether I should be careful about that, maybe it's high pollution, so maybe I shouldn't exercise so much. So this is the kind of information we collect. PM 2.5, and I'll talk a little bit more about that, the particles in the air. But as the concentrations go up from 0 to 12 micrograms, and that's usually a typical value is somewhere in that range, so a lot of times we're green. But then as on pollution episodes, it goes up, the index goes up, and when it violates the standards, the limits is 100. So if it goes above 35 micrograms, that the air quality index goes over 100. So this is usually what they report as the air quality index, but it's tied to the pollution levels. So they say, well, if it's 100, then you're right at the legal limit, sort of like the speed limit. And then if you go over, then, and if places go over it all the time, then the government says, okay, you have to take some action to try and lower pollution, ways that you can. And this sort of gives you a visual representation of, if it's good, then that's safer to go out and do exercise and things. And then as it gets up closer to the standard, to the 100 speed limit, as it were, for air pollution, then you start to get some symptoms. And then as the pollution levels go higher, the index gets bigger, higher and higher. And when we do our little mini experiment, we're gonna get way up here. Fortunately, we're not all breathing that all the time. This is averaged actually over a 24-hour period. So just a slight amount of pollution for a short period of time is not dangerous as, all day long what the average is. And if it gets serious enough, then people actually, and there's a much increased risk of dying. So it's been estimated something like almost 100,000 people in the United States die before they should because of air pollution. So it shortens their lives. And something like 8 million, 9 million people around the world die from air pollution, whereas they otherwise would not. They would live longer. Which is basically the same number of people that die per year from the pandemic. So we're talking about a very large problem. We're talking about air pollution. You can think about it, you're breathing it, it's coming into your body directly. And so these are the purpose air sensors that I was talking about, and it measures the air quality. It's very simple, and you just have to have power to it, electrical power, and then also a Wi-Fi system like many have in their homes, right? A Wi-Fi or here at the school. And so if you're located at a school, then there's Wi-Fi there and you can just hook it in. And so here's a example where the PM 2.5, this is not as air quality index, although, here's, well, it says PM 2.5. Yeah, this is as micrograms per meter cube. But let's see, 35 is the standard. So this would be the air quality index of 100 here. So you can sort of see, and this is various places, South Eagle Butte, this is at Sioux Falls, and Bismarck. And mostly when we get these events, they're regional events. And so we see that the regional pollution is a real big influence here. The stuff that blows in influences the local area. When we start to look at the particles, one of the things, and I don't have a slide for that, but we found that soil was a bigger component here than fossil fuel burning, whereas you go to the cities, there's more diesel trucks and vehicles and traffic. So here's an example of some data this year. And did anybody hear about this fire, the Takini fire? Yeah, so, and they came to, the winds happened to be out from the west to the east. So the pollution was varied and was driven, from down near here's the Takini school, and then here is where, let's see, this is Eagle Butte, downtown Eagle Butte, okay? And in fact, when you look at the dates, it reaches around 70 or so on this air quality index. This is the air quality index that's plotted here, okay? So it's getting close to the limit there in Eagle Butte itself. And then we have the other monitor in South Eagle Butte, and that one is higher even though it's further away. So this is 40 miles. You go back one slide, thank you, miss. The 36 miles, so you'd think the place that's closer would be higher. But this one is about 70. If we go to the next one, which is further away, but it's higher in South Eagle Butte. But you can see that the angle from the source to the location. So this one, it's almost directly, it's from the west, a little bit southwest. But if you go back to the previous one, it's more, it's much more from the south. So it's deviating further from the south, from the direction the wind is blowing in. So it's, the plume of pollution is going west, and this one is closer. If you go back, that one's closer. So even though you think it's further away, it would be lower. It's actually higher if it's more directly downwind. So Does that make sense? Yeah, so, I guess one important thing is to figure out which way the wind is blowing. So, and what?
Double.
Yeah, it was much higher because you're closer to that directly downwind from the plume. But both were affected because the pollution spreads out pretty fast over time. So now we're gonna try and do this experiment, and we'll see how it works out. Where we're going to take this, and which one do you wanna do first, the fire one?
Yeah, we can do the fire first.
Yeah,
So we'll go ahead and pull up the map for real-time data, and we'll be utilizing
yeah, so we've got
purple
this
air.
unit right here, and it's measuring, the air here. Let's see if we can make the switch, because it's on a purple air site. If you go to purple air maps, you can see the whole United States, and actually the whole world, and see what the levels are like. Okay, so these are the two.
And so what I'm going to do, I'm sorry,
Yeah,
George,
go
for
ahead.
interrupting.
No, you go ahead.
I'm gonna pass out some of these worksheets, and then if you guys just wanna follow along with us, we're gonna see how pollution affects and how it, the real-time data is showing you the, so. I think there's two in there.
We're hoping to do
So this
this,
will be a nice little experiment,
Yeah.
too. Oh,
we're hoping to do both, but I think because we started late, we may only just get to do the wildfire one. Yeah, we gotta pull up the data. So which one is this one?
Okay, so if we click on it, we can.
Which one, the 17 or the 56?
Yeah, click on the 17 and then it'll tell us if that one is going to be our fire experiment or a sandstorm.
So, where does it say? Like, one of these two is it?
If it doesn't have an F,
Oh, if it doesn't have an S, then,
it's 56 is the answer.
oh, it's the 56 one?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, so that's the one. And this shows the, yes, it went really high when we did it in the practice room. Okay, so now, yeah, Eva, you wanna try?
Yeah, let's go ahead and refresh.
So it's actually pretty high right now because we did this practicing before, so.
Did we refresh
Normally,
the page?
let's see. Maybe that, I don't know.
Do you guys know how pollution affects the lungs? Very crucial. Definitely if you have asthma,
Yeah.
pollution is pretty
Well,
tough
there are a number of factors. Actually, this is very fine particle pollution, affects your whole body. But of course, the first place it affects, where does it first go as it enters your body? Where does it go?
Your lung.
Your lungs. It comes in your nose and your throat and then down into your lungs. And these very fine particles go actually deep into your lungs. And so they can directly impact the lung, and we see places with higher particle pollution, there's a higher rate of people getting lung cancer, for example. Sort of like smoking, but not as much as smoking. And, but then those particles, and also they're solubilized and they get into your bloodstream. And some of the particles, the very small nanoparticles, the combustion ones like we're generating here, can actually go into your bloodstream and spread throughout your body, and they find increased risk of diabetes and cardiovascular, especially your heart is affected by it. So these particles are very insidious, and they come from, like diesel vehicles. So really, try and avoid standing behind tractors and vehicles and things like that, because that pollution can actually adversely affect your health.
Okay, so on your handout that we gave, we're gonna, if you guys just wanna follow along with us, we're gonna be doing, our fire experiment of, so then where it starts, the before, we're gonna go ahead and record this number, the 55, And then what we're going to do is we're gonna burn a leaf, and we're gonna see how our real-time data changes and how it records, so.
Yeah, so just a little leaf. So it's our tiny mini forest fire.
Okay. That should be good. Do we need a little bit more dosage? By the way, don't do this at home.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we're gonna smother, so we're smothering.
No, still going. Can start to smell.
Don't worry, we have a fire hydrant if it goes
Fire
out.
extinguisher, yeah,
That's right.
right here.
Okay. Ready?
Eva, you might just have to blow it out.
Ready? 1, 2, 3. Okay, and then our sensors do take a little while, but we'll go ahead and start refreshing. It typically takes up to 2 minutes to start showing the real-time data. Wow, look at that, that one is, I wonder if this one is kinda a little picking up this, a little bit of the smoke, maybe. But, okay, so if you look at it, it's jumping up, it's at 95. Let me go ahead and refresh.
It's also similar to like if you're in a room and somebody's smoking a cigarette, same kind of phenomenon happens. So, secondhand, what they call secondhand smoke, there are health effects of that too. So it's not even just if you smoke, but if somebody you live with smokes, that increases your risk of, health problems. So smokers are not the only ones breathing the smoke. Yes.
Do you guys know what type of health conditions or what type of health impairments could happen if you guys breathe in high polluted areas? Like coughing maybe? Coughing, shortness of breath.
I was thinking people with allergies, even if it's not asthma.
Yeah,
I know for
allergies.
myself, when it's windy, just more dust and crap in the air.
Yeah,
And
what-
like when the fires were in Canada, you could feel the difference.
Yeah, because they irritate the lungs and they cause inflammation. And the inflammation, especially for people with asthma, that inflammation makes them twitchier and more responsive to pollens. And so it increases your response. And that's why, you know, the inhalers that people take, how many of you have or know somebody who has asthma? Probably almost everybody, yeah, either has or knows somebody. And the thing with this pollution, the thing is, they have inhalers, many people, and that's a way of reducing the inflammation in your lungs. So that's what the medicine tries to do. It says we'll make it less inflamed, and therefore less responsive to pollens and things. Whereas pollution increases the inflammation, makes it worse. So it sort of works against the medicine. Yeah, so now we're up to 781.
So if you guys remember our scale, this is the maroon color one. And so these are emergency conditions that seriously have health effects for everyone. And so at this time, we'll recommend no one goes outside and do outdoor activity.
Yes, it's now 781, the 10-minute average 177. So you can get all this information off the web if you go to the Timberlake monitor or.
Yeah, and Timberlake does have a monitor down there, so when you have spare time, check out purpleair.com and view the real time down there, and you can kind of see what you're breathing in at your home.
Yeah, and I mean, if for the schools, if you decided you want to put it in the schools, you know, of course, you'd have to get permission for that, but then you can mark it as an indoor site on the web, and then it becomes part of the world information about indoor exposures, in schools, that kind of thing. Or you could put it outdoors and mark it as an outdoor site, and then, you know, people see that that's your outdoor, and then keep an eye on that. So both things are okay.
Eva, they're all in different schools,
Okay.
so
Oh,
maybe
okay,
we'll
they
just,
said they came from Timberlake.
well, some did, but like I see a Dupree teacher here, so what we'll do is we'll just try to grab the school representatives after the day, or maybe at lunch, to hand the purple airs out.
If you guys, yeah, if you're interested in doing something like this at your school.
Yeah, so now we're getting up.
We're doing, so like, the purple airs for a minute?
I would say we have reached wildfire status here. Fortunately, it's inside the container.
Yeah. Yeah, you can keep them, yeah. And then, what you would have
Did you like it? Did you enjoy it? Nice.
Yeah, put the ending number of 950.
We ran out of time, we would have showed you the sandstorm, but I put it in